My neighbor was secretly stealing water from my supply, so I decided to teach him a lesson he wouldn't forget. I recently purchased a house in Asia after the previous owners, who were family friends, decided to sell it. They had been living abroad for several years and were in urgent need of cash, so I got the property at a great price. Located in the capital city, the house was in a prime area but needed significant work. The previous owners had left mid-renovation, and when I moved in, it felt more like a project than a home. Even the front door only had a simple padlock instead of a proper lock. One of the first things I noticed was the lack of a gate. Without one, the property felt completely exposed, and anyone could wander in. In fact, on the very first day, I found a motorbike parked in my garage. I had no idea whose it was, but I simply moved it out to the street. That same day, I had a gate installed to secure the house. A few hours later, an angry man showed up, banging on the gate. I watched from my window as he yelled and paced around. After about 15 minutes, he gave up, retrieved the bike, and left. This incident was my first taste of the neighborhood, and it wasn't exactly a warm welcome. It didn't end there. Many people seemed unaware that the house was no longer abandoned, and my gate was often blocked by vehicles. It became a regular frustration, but I managed to solve it by putting up a bold, "No parking" sign. Thankfully, that reduced the incidents. Things seemed to be settling down, but then something strange happened. One evening, while taking a shower, I noticed a sudden drop in water pressure. At the same time, I heard the distinctive sound of my neighbor's water pump running. It felt like more than a coincidence. My next-door neighbor, an older man, lived in a 3-story house. He occupied the ground floor while the upper floors were rented out to tenants. This man wasn't thrilled about my arrival. I later learned that he had voiced his discontent about the house being sold to the previous owners, who warned me about him. Despite his attitude, I wasn't too worried. I'm a tall guy, and I have 3 dogs. Between that and my new gate, I felt secure enough to handle any potential issues. In our country, rooftop water tanks are standard due to low water pressure from the public supply. Pumps are essential to push water up to these tanks. Hearing his pump running while my water pressure dropped made me suspicious. Once his pump turned off, I tested various taps around my house. To my surprise, the water pressure returned to normal. This pattern repeated itself multiple times, confirming my fears. My neighbor was siphoning water from my supply. This revelation shed light on a lingering mystery. Even while the house had been vacant for years, the water bills had been unusually high. Initially, the owners assumed it was due to leaks, but now it was clear. My neighbor had been helping himself to my water. I couldn't immediately locate where the connection was, but the evidence was undeniable. Water is inexpensive in my country. Even with heavy usage, including washing my 3 dogs, watering the garden, and cleaning my car weekly, my bill rarely exceeds $5 a month. Still, this wasn't about the money. It was about standing up against entitlement, and ensuring people don't take advantage of others without facing the consequences. I knew I had to act. After some thought, I came up with a simple plan. On a Monday, I waited until I heard his pump switch on. Then I quietly turned off my water supply from the mains. Here's how it works. Rooftop tanks have a ball valve that detects water levels. If no water flows into the tank, the valve stays open, keeping the pump running. My goal was to cause his pump to burn out by depriving it of water, but I hadn't anticipated just how much damage this would cause. That night, his outdated electrical system couldn't handle the strain of the constantly running pump. Around 3 a.m., I woke up to the sound of commotion coming from his house. His pump had overloaded the system, tripping fuses and leaving the entire house without power or water. The tenants, understandably upset, started arguing with him. In my country, landlords are legally obligated to maintain basic utilities like water and electricity. Failure to do so can lead to serious consequences. The tenants wasted no time filing complaints with the police. As a result, the neighbor was fined $500, a significant amount in our area. Worse, both tenants decided to move out, demanding their security deposits back. With no rental income and expensive repairs ahead, the neighbor was left in a dire situation. Unable to afford the costs, he had no choice but to move in with his daughter. His plans to live comfortably off the rental income had completely fallen apart. A few days later, he came to my gate and asked if I had turned off my water. Keeping a straight face, I replied, "Oh yes, I had a leak in my tank and turned it off until the plumber could fix it." He didn't say much, but his expression said it all. He walked away, clearly frustrated but unable to accuse me outright. Now I'm having a plumber come by to fix my plumbing and remove any external connections that could lead to theft. By simply turning off my water, I not only stopped the theft but also dealt with a potentially troublesome neighbor. It's satisfying to see such a simple action lead to such significant results.
Thanks for tuning in. If you liked this video, consider subscribing.